2019. Are you ready for the first ever panel to feature the full main cast of ReZero? Give me a big round of applause for Kira Buckman, Kaylee Mills, Sean Chiplock, Brianna Knickerbocker, and Ryan Bartley.
Hey guys! Thank you guys so much for having us. I guess we'll introduce ourselves. You want to start over there?
Yes, let's start down here.
Alright, we're not starting with the protagonist, Dixie.
What?
Yeah, I think we should start with protagonists
Oh my
because
goodness.
Subaru always needs more suffering, right?
Hi everyone, my name is Sean Chiplock. Not only am I totally clueless, I'm also weak beyond compare. I voice Subaru Natsuki in ReZero. Woo!
I am Katie Mills, actor, singer, gremlin most of the time, and I voice Amelia in ReZero. Thank you.
And I'm Brianna Knickerbocker and I voice Remy.
I'm Kira Buckland and I voice Beatrice, I suppose.
And I'm Ryan Bartley and I'm the voice of Rom.
So, do we have a moderator for this panel?
No,
or-
I think we are.
Ooh!
We're
I
all
like this.
Bartleys
Do it
today.
live.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should probably start by talking about how we felt going into the series. I think it's important to point out that this series for the entire cast had a lot more camaraderie and family elements than I think a lot of series. Because you have to understand, when you record for anime, it's generally just a single person in a booth for their session. We don't do a lot of group recording. But without going into too much detail, and I want you guys to share examples, but there was so much combined love for this franchise, both out of respect for the popularity that it had in Japan during its original release, and just in our connections to our characters and to each other. So I don't know if anyone wants to jump in.
We have a private Facebook group called what is it called?
FB0.
No, it's called Starting Life in Another Facebook message.
Yeah, starting life in another chat from zero.
Yeah, from zero, yeah. But yeah, we are very close, which that definitely is unique. There's a couple other instances, but generally I don't bond with the cast quite as much as this.
It was just special, and we just all knew how big the show was, and how special it was, and we just all were so hyped, next level.
When I was cast as Beatrice and the director was explaining the character to me, I was like, oh, I get to make fun of Sean, just like in real life. It's great.
I just remember that I watched the series as it came out, and I believe it was Wednesdays on Crunchyroll, and I would go and do my ab workout in the living room and watch ReZero.
I binge watched that. I remember because I watched it while I was in Japan, and then after the casting notification, I wanted to make sure that I was ready for the dub. So I binge watched the entire thing over the weekend before we started recording on Monday. And I just remember, without going into spoilers, I remember seeing certain scenes from episode 15 and 18 and going, okay, I'm gonna have to do that. All right, that was the fun part. Was the casting director came up to me before they finalized the casting. They said, "We just want you to know," and they don't normally do this. They came up and said, "We want you to know. We just want you to be aware that this series is very vocally stressful." And we want you to be aware of that. We want to make sure that you know and that you are prepared for that. And I went, oh, I'm fully aware. I will pace myself. I'll make sure to take care of myself. I actually ended up quitting my job at California Adventure. I'd been working Turtle Talk at Disneyland, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that job and ReZero without completely tearing my throat up. So I had to say goodbye to the mouse. But that's how much it meant to me. It was a big deal.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I remember when the show and then I went and binge watched the entire show. I remember knowing that Ren was this really big character, and I'm watching episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. I'm like, Ren's not a big character. How can he have this? What is everybody talking about? And then I got really caught bummed. And then I watched episode 10 and I was like, oh, ew, okay. And then I got to 15 and 18. And
I cannot believe how much we talk in episode 18.
It's like the most talk. That's a world record.
I'm curious, like, are we at the point where we can, like, talk about what happens, or is that spoilers?
Yeah,
Like,
everybody's seen it.
Is anyone
like,
in mind
all
if
right.
there's spoilers?
Show of hands, who does not want to be spoiled on the events of the show? One person. Except I'm friends with him, so he has to deal with it anyway. Okay. Alejandro.
We're not friends with him, but
Yeah, we're not friends.
Yeah, really.
So for those of you who haven't seen the full series, in episode 18, Subaru and Rem basically spend the entire 23 minutes talking about their plans for the rest of their life with each other before ultimately deciding it's not worth it because they have to put in effort. And
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, that's not
yes,
for real.
yes.
This is why you don't deserve her.
But they just go on and on and on.
Yeah,
And
a lot of talking.
there were at least 3 separate points where it's like, okay, that I remember that being the last line that I recorded. Wait, there's more?
So how long did that episode take each of you? Was it more than one session?
Way more than one session.
Really?
Multiple sessions.
Wow.
I want to say it took 2. In general, doing a set of 4 episodes took about a full week of recording, and I think that episode took, for me, 2 sessions, 2 full ones.
Okay, so like typically we do multiple episodes in a session.
Yeah.
So the fact that this one episode took more than one session just tells you how much dialogue there really is.
Yeah. Usually loops are broken up into a couple sentences because whenever it breaks to the next person's line, that cuts to a new loop. My loops for Rem were like 8 to 15 sentences.
Wow.
So we had to break them up into individual, a few different loops because it was just so intensive.
They told...
Yeah.
Go ahead. A fun fact that they gave me, I forget which set of episodes it was. I think it was 9 through 12. But there was a set of episodes that they told me Subaru's line count was higher than the combined line count of every other character who spoke in those 4 episodes.
Whoa.
Every other character was
Subaru
spoke.
needs to like.
He needs a muscle.
100%.
too much.
Subaru, the ladies would like to speak. Please sit down. Take a chill pill.
We should do a little thing where we go down the line and say like, what was your initial reaction?
Oh, yes.
When you started developing your character, what struck you about the character? Was there certain moments that really revealed anything to you that helped you develop your character?
And I want to add on to that, I would love to hear how you guys got into the headspace for your character. Like, are you a physical actor? Did you have like a line that you would say to get yourself in the voice? Like, how did you set yourself in that space?
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay. So for Beatrice, she's very like snooty a lot of the time, but she has moments where she breaks into, this is so cute. And a lot of that is with Puck. And for me, that was like kind of one of those moments where I'm like not even really acting at that point because I'm a crazy cat lady. So whenever I see a cute cat, I'm like, oh, cute cat. So, I thought that was really fun to do those parts. And one of the ways that she was initially described to me is like a cranky old granny inside like a kind of young looking girl's body. So I thought that was really fun, and just seeing like the way that her relationship with Subaru kind of evolved throughout the series.
So first of all, my initial reaction, like in being cast, was to screech incredibly loudly for everyone in my apartment building and probably make people move. But like, who wants those people around anyway? Anyway, I think a common misconception about Amelia is you're like, oh, she's just like this really like pretty sounding nice girl, blah 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 blah. But like, you have to realize with Amelia, like she's like trying to rule like an entire empire because she wants the best for her people, and she has like all of this huge responsibility on her shoulders, and yet like she still comes across as like humble and someone you can approach and someone who's kind. And I just think like that's such a beautiful thing. So like physically, I wanted to like kind of keep my shoulders back, be like help hold myself high, but like still really let everything like touch my heart. Because she's not really putting on a front. In that case, like, it's really how she feels, and like she's a very emotional and kind person.
That was so well said. I love that. Oh man, Subaru. What an interesting individual. Subaru for me, it was especially exciting for me because I had already seen the series naturally before I even knew it was going to be dubbed in the first place. But it was such an interesting opportunity for me because in contrast to these wonderful talents up here, my anime portfolio is not very big. I don't have a whole lot. The video game side of the industry has been very kind to me, but anime not so much. So I really saw this as this opportunity to showcase my potential, and I feel like that's also to some degree how Subaru was in this other world, where he was ready to showcase his potential before the world told him, nah, buddy, that's not how it works out here. Let me show you how we roll in Lagunica. But he also has, like me, he has a very, very strong sense of justice. And what I mean by that is, you know, he tries to be happy-go-lucky and he tries to be laid back, but if he feels like somebody has been wronged or treated unfairly, it can be very difficult to take him off the path of trying to make things right, even if no one else around him wants to join in on that crusade. And it can get him in trouble, you know, it can get him in over his head trying to do things that are above his pay grade or above his skill level. But I can identify with that. And on almost kind of a more human, emotional level, especially speaking to like episode 18 when he kind of talks down on himself to Rem. You know, I can think of many times when I look at my wonderful, beautiful wife and I go, how the hell did I earn someone like her? You know, how do I deserve someone like her? And so those very introspective, reflective places, I've been there as well. It was very easy to talk to Rem because I would just pretend Rem was AJ, was my wife, because I love her to death. And whenever I had to talk to Amelia, I pretended Amelia was Smash Brothers because that's more important to me. and my wife understands that I will always love Smash Brothers even after she's gone.
This just in. AJ files for divorce.
You know what? I knew it was going to happen. Smash Brothers can't file for divorce, so it's some people come, some people go.
Yeah, that's right. Loyalty.
She's got to rule a whole country. Or no, Amelia's Smash Brothers. You know, Smash Brothers rules the country. We all know this. Woo! Yeah. I'm still looking for a hero player who can actually beat my Mega Man. So maybe I'll show up at the gaming center later and ruin all your dreams.
Did you just issue a challenge to everyone in Smash?
Yeah, I did. All right, let's move on.
For me, equally like what Kaylee said, when I loved Ren, I was screeching. I think I was like running around my house, screaming, crying, laughing, like just not even on planet Earth. And then getting into character voice was an interesting story because like our characters are very robotic in the first part of the show, so you know you don't get to have any of the personality. So I was like having some trouble like getting into that like Rem place, and Mommy's listening in and everything like that. And I finally, there's cameras in the booth so they can see you. So finally I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to try robot arms. So I tried robot arms while I was talking and it worked. And Mommy was like, that's perfect. And I was like, are you guys like watching me doing the robot arms? And they started dying laughing. But then after that, then I got to do like all the emotionally fun stuff, which I love. I love doing the
I almost forgot that there were cameras in the booth because like the first 20 sessions I ever did it there, I was like always so concerned about the cameras in the booth. I was like, oh no, what if I like accidentally pick my nose? It's so gross.
Thanks. Well, for me, one of my favorite parts of the process is discovering what makes the character tick and really what is going on underneath and what is going on in the mind of that character at all times. And so what I do is I always watch the Japanese. I binge the Japanese really, really fast before we start. So usually after we book a role, we might have about a week at most before we start. And so I'm just kind of rapid fire, blowing through series, trying to absorb as much as I can about the character. And I think this is really important to me because sometimes you don't really figure out what it is about a character that makes them do what they do until several episodes in. So with Rom, we really kind of get Rom when we see the backstory and when we see what she lost and what she gave up and why she gave it up. And you might think at first when you meet her, she's just kind of sassy and sarcastic. But then as you get to know her and you see her past, you see her heart and you see who she really is, and you see that she is an amazingly powerful character and she would do anything and sacrifice anything for her sister, and she has. And so for me, like getting through the series as a whole was really important in my process in creating that character. So that's always kind of underneath, and to me that's also where the skepticism towards Subaru and the jokes about, you know, at Subaru's expense come in from a place of protecting Rem, and from a place of like, you don't deserve her, and I need to figure out what's going on here. Who are you? You know? And so it's a very guarded kind of sort of wry sarcasm that hides this really vulnerable, scared heart and protective and loving heart that Rom has. And so for me, that was like always kind of how I approached it. And I think they recorded Rem and Rom, like we would sort of take turns in terms of who went first, but we always had to match the other person's cadence. So whoever went first kind of set the pace.
You usually went first, because I feel like I was always matching you.
I think I usually went first. Yeah, I think on the last volume maybe you went first, but yeah, that was always kind of fun. And then in terms of like keeping the voice consistent, it was really hard because as a person, like I change my voice a lot and just normal speak, and I move my hands a lot, and I'm very sort of animated in my day-to-day life, but these characters are so monotone, and that's really challenging. It's sometimes harder to do less. And so for me, and we didn't know this until way after we finished the show, I was also doing a similar physicality. Instead of robot arms like Brie, I was talking like this, and I would literally move my hands out across the line. Like as I was saying the line, I would kind of move my hands outward to keep it flat. It was so hard, and there was many times where we did another take where the director would direct us to bring it down less, do even less, you know. And it's really challenging to do less. But I love Rom. I mean, it was an honor playing her. I was actually not familiar with the series, unlike Sean and Kaylee. I didn't watch it before I was cast as Rom. And I'm really glad I did. I mean, I love the show. But it was a journey. It was definitely a journey. One of my favorite things is imagining what a character is doing when the camera's not on them. When you're not looking, what is Rom up to? And I feel like she has a very intricate personal life in terms of her dynamics with the villagers and what she's up to. She's always a couple steps ahead of everyone else, and you don't really get a sense of that because she's not necessarily good at like housework and stuff like that, but it's because she has like other things going. And I
her
feel
Neopets have never gone hungry.
Yeah,
not
right.
once. She always feeds them.
But you kind of get a sense of that when she shows up near the end in the white cloak, and she's like all of a sudden kind of saving people, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? But she is an amazingly powerful character. It's just that she keeps that under wraps, and I think there's a real power to hiding. You're not showing your cards.
She strikes me as a character who has like 20 times more going on in her head than she shows externally.
Oh, totally.
She probably does more thinking about potential outcomes and situations than everyone else in the cast combined, but she shows less than anybody else.
Yeah, I play a lot of characters like that. I play a lot of characters that have sort of a secret sort of internal thing going on that they don't really share. And I think that's great because as an actor, it makes your performance really layered, and it gives you a lot to kind of explore. And it's cool to kind of see like moments when that peaks out.
And she's a good foil to Subaru, who's the opposite, where he's doing everything, but there's nothing going on up here.
Inside is just
You made me think of something really funny. How many times did you guys have to say Subaru?
Well, luckily I call it Baru Subaru.
There's
volume with
Subaru. Well, I remember I was really nervous about how to say it, making sure I said it right, and they had a rewrite where the director was going to make me say it, and I was like, but wouldn't I say Baru Subaru? And he was like, oh yeah, you're right, and he changed it to Baru Subaru. But in my head I was just like, oh thank God I don't have to say Subaru, because I don't know if I'm saying it right.
We ended up having to do Subaru to stitches.
Subaru, because we want to say Subaru. Yeah,
Subaru.
but it's slightly different. Yeah, but I like Baru Subaru better.
Toyota.
Okay, we're calling it Toyota.
I had an issue with saying Rom's name because like apparently it sounded more like Rum to them, and I could not understand
No,
it.
I did too actually.
I have a slight Midwestern accent too, which like I don't pick up on, but like people here do, and that sometimes is a problem.
You said it was with Rom, right? With my character?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So
The main thing, because they had Old Man Rom,
Right.
and in the Japanese phonetics, it would have been Ram, Ram, and Rom. but they didn't want Old Man Rome. So how they distincted it is they said, okay, the maid is Ram, like a short A, like pop. But the old man is Ram, or it was the opposite.
Well,
so
I don't know, but I do know I played another little character. I played Mildo, which is one of the little villager
Mildo.
boys. He's really cute. He's adorable. He's one of the little village kids. And
Mildo's the worst.
I had to say, hey, I had to say.
For show of hands, who hates Mildo? Wow,
I
we
made
have no
fun of
fans.
him because I played another one of the
that's
little
Eddie over
kids.
there. No, listen. I had to say wrong as Mildo, and I was saying it wrong, and they actually had me pick it up. Like I came in for a pickup day. Pickups are like when the producers want something a little different. They change the line, they change wording, they change pronunciation. They thought you slurred a word. It can be any reason they want you to redo a line, and I had to do a pickup saying wrong because I was saying it wrong, and it's my role. It was like, thank goodness I don't say it more than a couple of times.
No, you were saying it wrong, not wrong. Wrong.
I'm saying it like long enough, but it's wrong. And even sometimes I accidentally mess up in conversation with people and I say Ram, or if they say Ram, but I would never do that on the
Also,
show.
we're almost at the point where we should start taking questions from those of you. So if you guys have questions that you want to ask us, feel free to line up. We still have like a half hour.
Yeah, we still have plenty of time. But if you already have a question, then please do.
Or is there anything else, Kira? Is there anything you wanted to add or say or ask a question of
No,
us?
I was just making fun of all those little kids because I played one of them too, and they were such brats.
Oh, they were so
Which
neat.
one did you play?
I played Lucas.
Oh, the one with the brown hair and the ponytail? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who here knows who Mildo is? Do you know what he looks like?
Good.
He's cute. He's really cute.
Well, while we see if anyone wants to line up, I'm trying to think of a different question that I can ask you guys. How did it feel coming back for Isekai Quartet?
Oh yeah, Isekai Quartet.
So, for those of you who aren't aware, a recent series that got dubbed Isekai Quartet is basically the who's who of Isekais. They had ReZero, Konosuba, what was that?
Tanya.
Tanya? Is
Is
that
it called Tanya the Evil?
Yeah.
And then Overlord?
Overlord. Basically matched them all up into a classroom setting and said, let's see what happens.
It's
Pro
really
tip.
funny. And nothing really happens. But it's funny to see the characters, how these characters that would never meet in their worlds, how they interact with each other, and the weird dynamics and them sizing each other up is really funny. And 2 of the shows are done in Texas at Funimation, and 2 of them are done here in California. And so they did a thing where they
Source Connect or
patch us in, where they have the director like over a phone line kind of in your ear. And we can hear them in Texas directing us, and they can even control the script and the picture that you're dubbing to remote. They're doing it remotely. Yeah, it was really, really cool. And so we've worked with these engineers and director and producers in Funimation in Texas that we've never met in person, but we've met them over the phone and an email, and they were really wonderful to bring us in, and we're super grateful that they let us do that with them. But it's funny, if you guys haven't seen it, it's on Funimation right now.
And Crunchyroll, but only for like a week, and then they're taking it off. or
Oh,
something.
so
Yeah.
watch it soon. But it's getting a second season.
ReZero. Like, my goodness.
They just announced that Isekai Quartet is getting a second season.
Hopefully,
So-
just like ReZero.
Yeah, and ReZero.
And Konosuba is.
It already had one, but yeah. So but they say apparently Isekai Quartet more characters are going to show up from those shows, but we have no idea who. So we'll have to wait and see. But it should be really funny.
I was really surprised when my Konosuba character showed up in Isekai because I wasn't expecting that since she was a smaller character. And so I was already in for Beatrice, and they're like, "Oh, you have another character, by the way." So that was a big surprise.
That was awesome.
That's
Yeah.
always fun.
So for me, the really funny thing was Union showed up in Isekai Quartet before she came out in the English dub of Konosuba. And so I kind of like let them know like early on in case she showed up, and they like forgot, but I reminded them last minute, and they're like, oh, okay. So we recorded for that, and then I wasn't able to announce it when Isekai Quartet had Union up until like a few weeks later when
That's an interesting situation.
Yeah, they introduced in the OVA because I've actually been union for like 2 years, a long time, but they didn't really say
I didn't say anything until like a week ago.
Yeah, so luckily Kaylee was able to do that character for East Kite Quartet, but it was just like uncredited because it wasn't announced yet. So that was kind of a cool little behind the scenes factoid.
All right, looks like we got some peeps. Let's move on to fan questions. Howdy.
Okay, I understand that most of you watch the show ahead of time before you record it, and as you're watching it, there's probably some really intense moments that you're watching, and you're thinking to yourself, like, how am I going to record this? Are you already mentally preparing your voice and how you're going to say it? Can you describe the process?
Like how you mentally prepare, like once you've seen it?
Yeah.
Well, if I may, the core of voice acting is still acting. So anime helps, even though it's one of the most difficult mediums to record for because we have to match so much on screen. It also is one of the most helpful in terms of information because when we see the clip that we're about to dub, you know, we see the environment, we see the character's emotional state, we literally see their facial expression, we can hear the intensity of the original performance. So that already gives us a lot of information about, you know, what we need to do to try and match that. When it comes to physically preparing ourselves to perform in that capacity, it's really something that, like, we technically should already have been preparing for through, like, warm-ups and practice and all of our other experience. A good example being, you know, my Subaru's breakdown in episode 15 when he rails against Metal Gear's talking about how badly he wants to kill him. That's not something I'm going to just be able to show up on the day of recording and have no prior experience and go, all right, I'm going to do this now. You know, that's something that I familiarize with myself over time from, you know, shouting lines in other productions or doing vocal warm-ups, you know, doing whatever exercises I have to do to warm up my throat so that when I get to that point, I'm not so much thinking about how do I physically perform this line, I'm just thinking about doing it. Now, that's not to say it doesn't take a toll on me. For example, during that tirade when I'm screaming, I'll kill you, I want you dead for like 45 seconds straight, that's still, for an experienced person like me, that took me out of commission. That was the last part of our session that we did, and I couldn't talk for the rest of the day. But it becomes important to make sure I do it correctly the first time so that I don't have to do it more times than is necessary.
And thank you to our engineers who's here. Eddie is one of our engineers and he worked on this today. So
Eddie, come on, man, take the credit.
Everyone clap for Eddie because he saved our voices.
Yeah, and made fun of me.
Because when we screen, people like Eddie have to make sure that they get it set, the levels are right the first time so we don't have to do it, and they save our lives. We couldn't do our job without
There's nothing worse than when you finish doing a blood-curdling scream and they go, and you can hear the peak in your headphones, and they go, we lost that one. Can we get a repeat?
Yeah, so we could not do what we do without our engineers.
And then on a technical, as far as voice goes, before each session, they usually play clips of our voice back for us, whether it's like from the audition or like from like what we just did. Especially if we're in the middle of the scene, they'll like play a little bit of what we did like last session, so we're back in the same space.
I was really, really sick for one of my Beatrice sessions, and I had to keep playing my ref because I couldn't match it. So, you know, she was like, "What an profoundly irritating and aggravating man you are." I remember because that was the line they always played, and I'd be like,
What happened? Did you have to go home? Like,
No, I didn't. But some of the lines we had to redo because it was really.
They just made it into one of those lines.
Yeah.
oh, Beatrice could be sick. Aw.
Yeah. So, thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
I just seen ReZero like a couple weeks ago because like I know I was gonna come here and see you guys.
How's the
Oh,
therapy
thank
going?
you.
It's going pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's my
Thank you
first
for
suggestion.
watching here, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, I always watch English dub, so I know for sure. Yeah.
Thank
so,
you.
my question is, when you guys did first see the show, and you guys seen how much blood and gore and stuff that you guys had to deal with, how did that make you feel? That you guys were a part of something so gruesome?
I was just like, as a viewer, emotionally affected and moved, and I wanted to be a part of retelling that story.
I was just constantly anxious because Amelia wears white, and that is like gonna be a bitch to get out.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the subversion of the trope because just prior to seeing that series, my friend who goes to Japan very often had told me about, it was called like Cell Phone Hero or something like that, where there was just this flood of isekai where the characters got super broken powers and were basically the gods of this world that they weren't a part of naturally. And so for ReZero to come and be like, guys, we all know this is how it would actually go. And to have Subaru try to be genre savvy only to have that completely flipped back into his face as early as the first episode was really intriguing. You know, it's interesting to watch him develop as a character because a lot of people say, oh, Subaru is such an unlikable character. I don't understand why people like this show because he's so aggravating and annoying and he expects so much of everyone else. And the only way I can respond is I try to tell you guys, think about this. Imagine if you had, how do I best describe this? Okay. So, everyone here in the audience has dealt with like some level of drama, whether it's high school drama or career drama or office drama, right? Like we've all dealt with that. And I'm sure we've all been in a position where someone close to you told you information about someone else that really frustrated you, but you can't do anything about it because you're not supposed to know. Does that make sense? That's Subaru's entire life during that show. Every time he dies and goes back, there's information he knows that could help protect someone, that could improve his relationship with someone, that could help change an outcome, that he can't do anything with it because there's no way he's supposed to know that, and revealing that he does would make people very suspicious of him. The mental toll that would take on a person is immense. And I just really like that the show explores that, explores someone trying to handle dealing with what they know when everyone else doesn't. Whereas a lot of these isekai shows tended to be more of monster of the week, problem of the week, use your powers to take care of the problem. It was a different experience and I really enjoyed it.
Also, have you seen the season 2 trailer? There's like a tiny little shot of Subaru like walking through the bodies. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
So it's like the gore is not going away. I think they're gonna amp it up in season 2. I don't know. Obviously, we have no insight, but we've all seen that little trailer.
I've actually read the light novel, that the part that happens immediately after where the anime left off. Are you guys okay with mini spoilers?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Do we have someone that can help with the microphone? We got someone coming. Thank you very much.
So cute! Can you hold that up so everyone can see it?
So cute.
I love it.
Little Beatrice.
I have a question. How do you guys choose the voices? Have they ever told you what your voice is supposed to be?
I don't want to go first every time. If you guys want to say something.
I mean, I can say that when we audition, we hear refs of the Japanese voices, and I mean, I don't know about everyone else. I usually try to match pretty closely. Obviously, as everyone said, the acting is the most important thing, but I try to listen to what the original actor did and kind of do something in the same vein. And sometimes you'll get notified that you're cast for the character, and then when you go in for your first time recording, they will play with the voice a little and try to maybe try different things. So I know that for Beatrice, we definitely in the actual recording went a little bit higher and cuter than what I did for my audition initially.
Thank you.
I was also going to chime in. It can vary from client to client or studio to studio. There are some clients that say we want to match the Japanese voice as closely as possible. We want it to be a one-to-one in English as it was in Japanese. And then there will be other clients that are like, we are looking for the general realm of this archetype. Like if it's a young protagonist, they should sound confident, they should sound youthful, but it doesn't have to be a perfect match as long as it carries the same qualities that the original Japanese did. So it's really just a matter, it's something that we learn as we continue acting. We just learn what clients prefer, we read the instructions on what they're looking for, and we make our decisions at the time that we audition. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ryan.
Guys, Senpai noticed us. Yes.
So you guys have a lot of different sessions where you're going to be doing like a lot of screaming, especially Sean. So how do you guys usually recover from a session like that?
All right. So this isn't a fix-all, but pretty much everyone in our industry uses it. There is this Chinese throat coat called Ninja Heipakoa. And it's best known as Hulk Juice because is it Fred Tatasciore who voices Hulk? Tatasciore? Okay, so Fred Tatasciore, who voices the Incredible Hulk, swears by it. And basically the way we do it is after a vocally stressful session, we'll drink some form of hot tea or some kind of throat coat. We'll usually take this Chinese throat coat and just gargle it in the back of our throats and let it coat our vocal cords, swallow it, and then shut the hell up for several hours.
You just can't talk.
It really is. It really is. Like for a lot of people, the same way that they say the best cure for a hangover is time. You just have to wait it out and let it run its course. The best cure for when your throat is sore is to just not use your throat. Because every time you talk, your vocal cords are vibrating against each other. You literally have sections of skin that are hitting back and forth that are producing the sounds that you hear, and they get fatigued, they get swollen. Like if you play video games a lot, you may get like calluses on your fingers. That's what's happening with your vocal cords. So if you don't want them to rub up against each other and have a chance to recover, you just don't talk. And there are ways to mitigate the damage that you do receive. Obviously, minimizing the number of takes where you're shouting, making sure a lot of clients will try to keep lines of the same intensity together. That's more for video games, but like in a lot of war games like Call of Duty, we'll do all the quiet lines first, then all the normal lines, then all the projected lines, then all the shouting lines. Because if you are going between quiet, loud, quiet, screaming, quiet, that also jars your throat because it's constantly changing how much of it's expanding or contracting. So it's a collaboration between the talent and the engineer to organize things in a way that the more intense stuff is saved for the end, so that once you're done screaming and shouting, you can go straight into vocal rest mode.
And sometimes you don't have a choice, to be honest. I've definitely had days where I had like 7 or 8 hours of just vocally stressful stuff because those clients couldn't record on any other day. So if that's the case, I mean, if you just know it's coming, like the day before, don't go to a concert with your friends and start yelling. Don't go to a con and start yelling.
There's also just certain like foods you can avoid, anything acidic, because it creates like acid reflux, and a lot of throat damage is caused by acid reflux too. So I kind of try to stay away from like pizzas and pastas. I eat a lot and I love that stuff, but the tomato is really acidic. So that there's certain foods you want to be sticking with, like really basic stuff. But yeah, there's really nothing you can do. You just have to stop talking and drink a lot of water.
Water is your friend. Hydrate, all of you.
Yeah.
I see you with the water. Congratulations, very proud of you.
Yeah.
If you don't have a bottle of water while you're at this convention, you better buy one from a reasonably priced location as soon as this panel is done. Water is good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy.
I love your Amelia cosplay.
Right next to you, like you were this close to getting stabbed.
What are you gonna do? Kill me? I'll just come back.
I have a quick two-part question, right?
Okay.
So, who are each, aside from me, Zero, who are each of your wives?
Like in the show or outside of it?
No, outside.
I'm sorry, but Patricia is my wife. She is. I love her.
What if I want her to be my wife?
Alright, fine. Felix is best girl.
Outside of Zero. Can it be any show?
Any show, any video game.
Okay. Claire from Claymore.
Mika from Idolmaster.
I don't know. I definitely have a husbando, which is Todoroki. I know, I saw.
Yeah, my second part of my question was the same question, but with Hulk Banner.
Oh, I already, yeah.
Okay. Man, this feels like one of those meme images where it's like, who was your first crush? And I'm like thinking who it is. I don't have anyone. I don't know. I gotta think of mine.
You can adopt Todoroki if you want.
Do we not? Do you guys not have
I
one?
sure have one, but I was just waiting in case anyone else wanted to jump in.
Oh, let's hear Kira's.
Diego Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
Right?
Did I say Vaughn? Is that, am I allowed to say the character?
Sure. Bond from
Yeah. No, from
Oh, Seven Deadly Sins, that's right.
I was like, it's too expected because I'm a lame, but
You know what? I'll take the plunge. Leomon from Digimon. Those luscious locks, man, and that chest. Oh!
I'm also a big fan of Russian Yuri on Ice.
All right, thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for questioning my attractions.
Hello?
Hello. Oh, I should have said Fox McCloud. There you go.
Oh yeah. So I had a question for all of you. So as an aspiring voice actor myself, who's taken like some classes and participated in online projects, like what would you say is, in your opinion, the best method of like trying to get your foot in through the professional door?
The one thing I want to ask before any of us answer: where do you live local to? Are you local to Los Angeles or in Southern California?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll let you guys go before I do.
acting classes. It's just acting, you know?
I take a lot of improv, personally. I mean, we don't really get to do improv in anime because we have to match the lip flaps, but it's helpful in terms of character development and in terms of everything else that's going on in my head when I say the lines. And intention. It's helpful in all that kind of stuff, but I'm always taking classes, I'm always studying, and I'm always trying to get sort of just like in front, on live, on stage, you know what I mean? It's really scary, but improv has helped me immensely.
do you have demos already? Like professionally produced demos?
No.
Well, when you feel like you're ready for them, or your coaches tell you you're ready for them, that would be a great step before you ever reach out to like a studio, because the first thing they're gonna be like, do you have a demo? Like, what do you sound like? So make sure your coaches are on board with it, and find a coach that you might want to work with on your demo, and let them tell you when you're ready, and work with them on it. And I think that would be the next step to look into.
This is as important as it is scary. You do not want to start moving forward once you have a demo that's good enough. Because for many of these studios, your demo is the first impression they have of your vocal qualities and your range and your abilities. And you have to remember there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who all want the same 3 to 5 roles that are available in a given project. You need to be the best option. So your demo should be a showcase of your best, like what you are capable of, what you can book, what you can work on. Because if it's just, oh, yeah, he's pretty good at this, but this other guy we know who also lives local does it better, you're never going to get pegs at all. They're going to just go with it, especially if it's someone they've worked with before, because then they know they have the consistency. Here,
Okay, I have many feelings.
you go first before I add it.
So, one of the things that you can do, it sounds like you're already on the right track if you're taking acting classes, which is the most important thing. One thing that you can do nowadays because of the internet is you can get some stuff to record at home, and there are so many indie games these days. There are student animators, there are a lot of people just producing projects online who need voice talent to help them out. And even when you're starting, it may not be like paid projects, it might just be kind of like, you're helping out like someone trying to do like a class project or, film festival submission or something like that. Or all these indie game developers, a lot of them are paid work now. So a lot of the things that I did when I was first starting out and getting ready to move out here was doing stuff for like indie projects and online games and that sort of thing. And it also gives you a chance to kind of have something for your resume, because when you go into apply for voice acting projects, they want someone who is experienced. So shameless promotion. I am the founder of a site called Voice Acting Club. It's super easy to remember if you type in voiceactingclub.com, or you can just search Voice Acting Club. We have a Discord server with a ton of helpful people that can help you get started, recording on your own. There's a lot of like indie game producers who post casting calls for projects.
Freedom Planet was a game, I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but Freedom Planet was cast through Voice Acting Club. And now I think it was brought to Switch, and now the sequel's in production, so it's not just small college projects that exist on these freelance sites or like on Voice Acting Club. There are actual paid productions, some of which end up on home consoles that get cast through there.
Yeah, like there's stuff that we auditioned for.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. I was just saying that site will be a super helpful resource because there's a ton of other people who are in the same boat. I've also spent like a ton of time writing guides and articles for the site.
She has spent so much. Kira has contributed so much to the growing professional voice and even the amateur voiceover scene. And I honestly think we should give her a round of applause for all that she's done. If you were to go on just the Voice Acting Club and read every one of the threads that she has written about different facets of the industry, you'll have saved yourself about $1,500 of info that you would have learned otherwise from workshops. That's how much time she's put into that stuff.
And don't give up. Yeah, just keep auditioning too, because it's a lot of times people think that like, you know, what you guys are seeing in the roles that you know us for, that's the tip of the iceberg, and there's a million failures behind that you don't see. So don't let that stop you. You know, no one books everything, obviously. You know, so
I want to make sure we get through everyone else. So I'm going to chime in, but try and make mine quick. You can ask 100 different actors how they got into the industry or what their foot in the door was, and get 105 different answers. And even within an actor's career, how they make connections can vary wildly. I hate to use myself as an anecdotal example, but my in with Bang Zoom was because of an audition competition at Anime Expo. But my audition for Breath of the Wild came because Bang Zoom gave us the email to a sister studio that I had never worked with before then. I started my relationship with Mattel and Disney Parks through a workshop that I did in Studio City. I started my relationship with PCB Productions, who recorded for Persona 5, because an unrelated game company was doing a job through PCB who had previously worked through Bang Zoom, but they remembered me from when they worked with me through Bang Zoom, and they brought me over to work with them over at PCB, and that's how PCB got to know me. So all these different ways that I make different connections, what it really boils down to is the old adage of opportunity plus preparation equals success. The only thing you are in control of is how prepared you are and how skilled you are, like how much you've trained yourself. You don't have any real control over when the opportunities are going to show up. So what you need to focus on is being as ready as you can be so that when these opportunities show up, you can bring your A game and potentially get something out of it as a result. So to that, on that degree, since you are local, this is why I asked. Remember these 4 sites, and if you need to come up to my autograph panel afterwards if you need to remember them. VoiceActingClub.com, that's where you want to start networking with your future peers and colleagues, because pretty much all of us who now help run that site were once amateurs on it. Kira and myself especially. We were once aspiring voice actors, and now we help, run it. I mean, you were always the admin, so. That's the first site. Second site is iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. It's an article site by D. Baker. You should have read every article on that site back to front before you start performing. VoiceActingMastery.com, a podcast series by Crispin Freeman. Listen to it, you'll hear how different actors got their foot in the door. Maybe you'll find a story that you resonate with. And then consider, look into voiceovervoiceactor.com, which is a book and website by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt that has a bunch of warm-up exercises and just more info into the inside of the industry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and good luck. Hello, Todoroki.
Hi.
Icy hot?
You want me to burn your face off?
Yeah.
Please end my suffering.
Really digging himself out here.
Alright, so this question's for the girls. How much fun was it to always be beating up Subaru in the show?
It never gets old. We love it.
Dream come true.
It's our dream come true.
I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, and he just like threw it out the window. So I don't know.
You are, for those of you who've seen Isekai Quartet, you were talking about how your character has a lot of heart and cares about those around. You throw all of that out the window. Isekai Quartet is a counter insult master queen.
Yeah, you don't see any of the vulnerability of Ram and Isekai. You just see Subaru being wicked spurned all the time.
Every one of her lines is Subaru going, I'm making a statement, and Ram going, why are you still talking?
Why do you still exist?
It's what he deserves.
Yeah, no, it's been a blast.
Ram, fall for an actual dude.
What's that? Yeah, fall for an
Actual dude.
Good morning. All right. Thank you.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Is there, sorry, is there a specific anime or specific voice actor that got you into voice acting?
Yes, in my case, I was on Adult Swim's website, and I got to see an upcoming clip of an episode of Trinity Blood. And I got to see Troy Baker, back when he did anime, voicing Abel Nightroad. And I had never really known what voiceover was before then, but they showed him in the booth, and they had two cameras. One shot was him in the booth, and one was his character on the screen, and they did the boop, 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 and he starts talking, and that was when I watched a man talk. At the same time, a character's lip flaps were moving, and I was like, what is this black magic? What is this? I don't know what it is, but I want in on it. So that was thank you, Troy Baker.
When I first started getting back into anime in middle school, Naruto got me back into it, and then I was really into the music, so I looked online, the music community, and I started doing cover songs, and Christina B's covers actually really got me into it, and the fact that she's one of my peers now, and we work on games and stuff together is super cool. I'm still just
I grew up watching Sailor Moon, so that was my thing into it.
I was a massive Pokemon fan, still am, and give it up for Pokemon. and also all the Miyazaki movies, I was completely mesmerized by as a kid. And in terms of voiceover idols, I loved Grey Delisle, and she goes by Grey Griffin now. But all the people that were on Rugrats and SpongeBob, Tom Kenny is one of my idols, and there's so many people I look up to. And the cool thing, Billy West, everyone on Futurama, Tom DiMaggio, oh gosh, yeah, I see them, at the studio sometimes, and it's the craziest, most magical thing. To be in an industry with such talented people that I've looked up to for so long, it's like a dream come true. But yeah, those are sort of my people. Yeah, my inspirations.
Kara?
A lot of mine are just my friends that I work with all the time. Damon Mills is here. I don't know if
He's back there or somewhere.
but that boy can scream.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, it's Eddie.
Hi, guys.
What up?
This is our engineer Eddie, who saved our voices and lets us continue to work.
Eddie's really neat.
Give it up for Eddie. Not really. Eddie's our good friend.
So I'm gonna throw you guys a curveball.
Okay.
What characters, aside from your ReZero characters, do you have an emotional connection?
All of them. Yeah.
Specifically, if you could be hey, I want you guys to go watch this thing because I put
my heart into it.
Yeah.
Well, the new dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion is out on Netflix, and I played Rei Ayanami. That was a dream role, and definitely something I put a lot of my heart into and a lot of my psyche into. And Komogi in Hunter x Hunter is also another one that I poured just so much love into. It's hard because I really kind of fall. I try not to judge my characters. I try to judge everything in that character's world, because to me, building a character is sort of a collection of opinions. So I try not to put adjectives on my characters. They're cute, they're funny, they're smart. I try instead to make opinions about everything else. And in that way, I feel I internalize my characters so much that it's weird to say I love this character, because it's not an external thing. It's almost I'm in that, but of course, after I finish a show, I can step away a little bit and talk more articulately about which ones I really, really love. And I'm very protective about Komogi specifically, and I do sincerely love her and look up to her as a person. That's really cool when you find a character that has traits that you hope to have. That's really special. I'm really not very good at that thing, but that character is. I want to be more like my character. I want to be a better person because I want to be more like that character. And for me, Komugi and Hunter x Hunter is that. Like, I want to be more like her. But yeah, man, I get so much. I mean, I love acting. Is like for me just like an internal exploration kind of thing, and so I'm always discovering new things about myself in my roles. And I will say that Rom for me was actually a little bit more challenging to access than others. Like Rei Ayanami was actually really easy. Komugi was pretty easy. Rom was a little bit harder because I don't have any siblings. I'm an only child, and to have sort of a motivating factor be such another person that you love platonically and not in like a mother way, because I can imagine what it would be like to be a mom.
We do have 2 minutes, and I want to see if we can.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, I'll pass it on.
Okay.
You guys have some. I would say Chizaki and all.
This may seem like a cop-out, but I am always afraid of if someone comes up and like is really happy about a role I did and I'm not attached to it. So I always try to find something about every one of my roles that I do that makes it meaningful to me, whether it's a personal attachment, a challenge that I overcame, or if it's a milestone point of my career that I can talk about. So I try to always have a story of some sort, either of why it's important to me, why it's important to my career, so that no matter what someone knows me from, I can respond and I can have something to add on to that to make it a special experience for them.
I'm super attached to Hina Kawamoto from Arch Crimson Like a Lion. I feel like her highs are so high and bright and cheery, and then like you just like get wrecked with like this sadness that is in her heart, and she's just a beautiful character like that I want to protect in my life.
So this will not come as a surprise to anyone who knows me, but if you guys have seen any of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, watch it anyway because it's amazing. I play Reimi Sugimoto in the English version of Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, and this was such a special role to me because JoJo's changed my life, like no joke. I know that sounds really dramatic, but this is a series that's so important to me on so many levels. So getting to be a part of it in some official capacity was like a dream come true for me. And I think because I knew the series inside and out already, I didn't have to worry about like, okay, what's the universe we're establishing? What's the character we're establishing? I already knew her, so we just got to play with the acting, and she's just like such a precious angel.
Yay.
Thank you for that question.
All right, lightning round. What's up?
All right, since we have 1 minute left, it's the most important meal of the day. What you guys have for breakfast?
What I had for breakfast this morning? A chili cheese dog with tomatoes from that pig stand in the back. And water!
I mixed protein powder with Hershey powder and some almond milk, and then topped it with Greek yogurt.
I just had coffee, I'm a bad example.
I had Jack in the Box.
I don't know about that one.
Give it up for Jack in the Box.
What did you have?
Yeah. What'd you have?
I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you. All right, last question.
What is your favorite band/artist?
Band/artist?
David Bowie.
Yeah. Gorillas.
Answer, Kaylee.
Freddie Mercury.
Anything EDM.
The Beatles.
All right,
Thank you
that's it.
so much.
Thank you guys for coming to our
Thank you so
panel.
much to us.
Buy our merch.
And thank you to Animanga for having us. And it's really an honor to be
Make
here.
sure to hit like and subscribe. Click that bell notification set.
Oh, actually, I wanted to say we have autograph sessions this afternoon. If you buy a print, we have like really cute little cosplay photos of me and Bree and Kaylee together. If you buy it from one of us, the other one of us will sign it for free. It's included in the cost. So if you get it from one of us, just take it to the other ones this afternoon and get their signature on it. And we hope to meet you guys and talk more. And I have an autograph session right after this. So
before we go, I think.
You guys want to take a picture?
Some of us will be signing at different times, but you can just check the autographs area of the website for when we'll be signing this afternoon.
Please give a round of applause for our read-through panelists.